I'm just tagging everyone right now while everybody comes in. Pin. Why are you no pending? Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone. Hey, hey. What's up? Just waiting for Jay to come in here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Art Talk Tuesday, episode 5. All right, Jay's in the building. What's up, Jay? Hi, everybody. It's your girl, Nefertiti Nakia, the Indigo Child. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Okay, so before I bring Jay on, I would like to give him a quick intro. He is our modern day impressionist. So, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Jay. So let me get him up here. Alrighty. It's my first time this episode hosting. I'll be with you all 3 more times. Hey, Jay.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, what's up? How you doing? You look nice.
Oh, thank you. So do you. I like them glasses.
Thank you, thank you. All right, so let's get into it. So we have Jay Durrah. He is a modern day impressionist. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself to start.
Yeah, I'm Jay Durrah. I've been painting for over 40 years, off and on. More recently for the past 12 years or so. I've been committed, and I'm from Western Pennsylvania. Graduated at Howard University.
Woo woo. Okay.
Yeah, you know. But I'm an impressionist. I mainly do portraits. Mostly, that's all I do is just portraits, and my style is impressionism. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's get into these questions. So I understand that you are a self-taught artist. You started sketching at the age of 9.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, so I used to go to my grandparents' house, and they used to get the TV Guide. And I know some of you younger folks don't know what a TV Guide is, but it was a little magazine about the size of a Jet magazine that told you what came on TV that night. And they would have like it was like a magazine, so there were a lot of advertisements in there. And one of the advertisements was, I think it was for the Art Institute of Pittsburgh or something like that. And it had this cartoon that said, if you can draw this, you too can be an artist. And I used to draw that. I mean, I used to go to my grandparents' house, and my grandfather noticed that I was drawing the cartoon, and it looked just like the cartoon. I think it was a squirrel or something like that. And he said, yeah, that was pretty good. You should keep it up. So he encouraged me as I was when I was young. And I say 9, but I just know I was young, and that was my best guesstimate.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel that. Do you think that your grandfather was like one of like your biggest supporters as you were growing up to become an artist, or did you have a lot of like different family members and things?
Well,
like
he was the male figure in my family, so I really respected what he said. So I think by him saying that, it really did encourage me.
Okay, awesome. I'm just taking a look at my notes here, just so I can keep up. Okay, and so of course, we know that you do portraits and things, and from what I've seen, it's a lot of Black people, a lot of Black art. How would you say being Black has impacted your art?
Well, as an African American artist, I think that we're underrepresented in the art world, period. And as a portrait, I want to represent our people. So that's mainly why I paint our people, because I do portraits. I want our images to be more represented.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to take a pause right here just to let you all know in the comments. If you have any questions, you should see a little question box at the bottom. Just type in your question there and it'll pop up. And at the end, we'll get to asking questions. Okay. All right. Awesome. Let's talk more about, let's see. I'm just going through here. Let's talk about the people that you that you paint. Are these people that you know, or are they like celebrities that have interested you or influenced you? How do you choose the people that you?
Okay, so my interests are other art forms and history. I love history. I love music. I love dance. So a lot of my images portray musicians or dancers or historical figures. But also, I just love interacting with people. So a lot of times I'll go out someplace, and if I see somebody looks interesting, I'll take a picture of them, ask them if I can do a portrait of them. I'll get their information or give them my information. And once I do a portrait, if I do it of somebody I saw on the street, I try to at least give them a print of what I've created. But
Nice.
I love seeing, there was an example. I was at Artscape in Baltimore, and this brother walked in. He was like a roster brother. He had a head wrap. His name was Dwayne. And I said, man, can I take your picture? I'd love to do a painting of you. And that's one of my better pieces.
Really?
I call it He Is Royal. And then,
Nice.
I sometimes I'm hanging out at a bar, and I've painted pictures of bartenders and created some nice pieces from them. So it's if I see somebody looks interesting, I try to take a picture and recreate.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many interesting people out here. I always get caught up in people watching and just finding some beautiful people. I'm like, oh my God, you're like inspiring. So I completely understand that.
I guess as a portrait painter, that's what we do. We see other people and that will look good on canvas. So that's what we try to capture that.
Have you ever done a self-portrait?
Yes, I have.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
Well, actually, I did one in high school. And then I did when I was trying to get into the National Portrait Gallery, and they said you can do a self-portrait if you like, and I did a nice one of that. And then I did another one called Finding My Voice, where I was like screaming or hollering, and I did a picture of me screaming or with my mouth open, saying Finding My Voice. So I've done three self-portraits. Yeah.
Nice. I feel like every artist that does portraits, you got to eventually, at one point in time, kind of like look in the mirror and like, okay, it's time.
Right.
So I heard you mention Art Basel. Did you want to talk a bit about that? I wasn't able to go. I wasn't with you all at the time, but I heard so many amazing things, and I just would love to hear your experience in Art Basel. Was that your first time in like a big art show like that, or was it something that you kind of just do?
Okay, well, I've done other shows on that same level, but that was my third time for Art Week in Miami, and Art Basel was actually a specific show at the Miami Beach Convention Center, and so that's what that show is called. But everybody calls the whole Art Week Art Basel pretty much. So we were in an art fair called Spectrum, which was in the Wynwood area of Miami. And it was in the Wynwood Convention Center. And that was in 2019. We had 3 booths. We had, 9 of us, 9 artists from the DMV area. And we each had a wall. And it was a great experience. We had some great support from Prince George's Arts and Humanities Council, some other folks, the people that do my printing, they helped us out. Kroger's helped us out, and that's Old Town Editions, the people to do my printing. I'm trying to put in plugs where I can.
Hey, shout them out.
Yeah, I think we had Kroger's. We had Lincoln. Well, I don't know, but I think Lincoln helped us. Lincoln Automotive Services helped us. But we got support from our community to help us get down there. And although we had 9 people showing there, we took about 12 artists down. And there was another showing at the Fearless Artist pop-up. and the Fearless Artist pop-up run by Kiki Somerville. That was the first time I displayed in at Miami Week, Art Week in Miami. And that was about 3 years ago. That was like 2017, I believe. And she does a pop-up show in Wynwood also. And some of us got to participate in that show also. And there's also there's a Black Side of Art Basel. Oh, and there's some specifically black shows. There's a show called Art Africa, and I displayed there in 2018. I had a piece in there, and it's just so much art everywhere. And if you've never been, you have to go. You have to go. And hopefully in 2022, 2021, we may be able to go again. I hope so.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll be able to join in on the fun.
Yeah, and it was fun. We all stayed in the same house, and we got to bond, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, so I would assume that community is really important to you.
It's very important to me.
Did you want to talk about that? I know
Sure.
This summer we were working with Paint Institute's John Chisholm, and we did the gallery place kind of corner there, and you did a piece out there. I read that you weren't asked to do it initially, but then you kind of ended up getting a spot. So did you want to kind of talk about that, your experience?
So that was interesting. That was an interesting day because it was like in the height of the COVID quarantine, and I was stuck in the house, wasn't going anywhere, and Kiana Clark called me and said, Jay, you want to come volunteer and help us out? Just paint some backgrounds or do whatever people need you to do to help out. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll come down. It was a nice day. It was sunny. I think the George Floyd protests that started in D.C. So there was actually, a group of folks walked past us while we were painting. But when I got down there, John asked me if I wanted a panel to paint. So there was a panel on Clyde's restaurant. So I ended up painting a piece there. And it was a piece of a young man, and I put a caption below it, or like a sign that said "My Next," speaking to the fact that so many of African American men were being killed, and this was a young boy who was worried about being next, because there was a young boy as young as 12 that got shot in Cleveland. So I mean, you don't know. So that's what that piece spoke to.
Awesome. Do you often find yourself tying in activism with your work, or is that something that you kind of separate?
Well, it's something. Art should be political, but I must say that not all my art is specifically political. And I want to do that more. But in the past, what I've done, I may have done a piece, and it would have I would put the title, create a title that was encouraging. Like I had a piece called "Keep Your Head Up," "Hold Your Head High," "We're Gonna Make It." I had have encouraging titles. But I do want to. I think as an artist, we have a duty to reflect the times that we live in.
Yeah, I definitely believe that as well. Speaking of, so I noticed that a lot of your work often, in a lot of your statements, you talk about the commonality of us as a human race. And I wanted to know, what commonalities do you try to show through your work personally?
Okay, so if you've seen my work, I use a lot of different colors. I use it's mainly patches of color, and when I first started, and it still holds true today. I say that the multiple colors in my pieces represents the multiple ethnicities in the human race, or of an individual, because none of us are like, or very few of us are pure white or pure black or pure Indian or whatever. We're mixed with different races. So the colors that I put in my piece, the multiple colors represent the multiple races or ethnicities in each individual. And I also feel that, race is only skin deep. And scientifically, once you get below the skin, we're pretty much all the same. So
Yeah.
I think it's important. At some point we need to get past race. I don't know if it's ever going to happen in my lifetime, but at some point we need to realize that, we're all human. We all came from the same place. We all came from Mother Africa, so those who have issues with it get over
I understand that.
it.
And so that's kind of how you see us as the human race, is that we're kind of one group. We're in this together. How do you think
But
that,
but
oh, go ahead.
I say that but we also are very diverse. We have different cultures, and we need to respect each other's cultures too, and embrace each other's cultures.
Okay, nice. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Um, so let's talk about let's kind of dive into your past a bit. We kind
Mhm.
of talked about the TV guides, but I have that you went to HU
Yes, I did.
for poli sci.
Yes. So
So how did you go from poli sci to this amazing artist who's kind of had your work kind of all over?
okay. Well, I've always been. I've always had some artistic skills, but when I was younger, I just thought it was going to be a hobby. When I went to college, it was just a hobby, something I did on the side. And at that time, I wanted to be a lawyer. When I was in undergrad, I wanted to be a lawyer. But after I got out of undergrad, I was tired of school. I was ready to, get me a job, start making some money, and I ended up getting a job at the telephone company and ended up working, working in the telephone company for years. But I, you know, sometimes I regret not going to law school, but I think things happen for a purpose, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten to this point where I am now, artistically, if I had gone that way. But I just at the time and I probably didn't have enough discipline either when I was
Mhm.
younger to be, to do what needed to be done to become an artist, a full-time artist.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So after Howard, after you kind of went through that stage, you went to Corcoran School of Arts. How was that? How was learning? How was it making art from a self-taught standpoint to um, being academically taught? What is there a
Okay.
difference? Because I went to
Well,
art school, so I kind of know how it is in art school. But
mm,
I know a lot of artists that are also self-taught, and
mm,
they're like blossoming
okay.
as well.
So when I was at AT&T, they had this program called the Lions program, which allowed you to take any type of class from anywhere as long as it wasn't like law or medicine. You could just, so at the same time, I got my barber's license. And then after I got my barber's license, I said, well, let me take some art classes just because I was like, I haven't been doing much art. And that was the only way that was to keep me artistically inclined was to take some classes. So
Right.
I took some classes at the Corcoran. I also took classes at the Montpelier Arts School in Laurel, Maryland. But
Hmm.
so I took I didn't I took maybe about 6 classes. I remember I had like a computer graphics course, watercolor course, some figure drawing courses. It was very interesting, and it kept my skills going, and it helped enhance my skills. Actually, at the Corcoran, that's when I was kind of introduced to uh, using other colors besides skin tone colors in my portraits, because I had this watercolor class, and we could only use primary colors. We couldn't use like in skin tone colors. So that's where I liked it the way it turned out, because you're really just looking at tones, your darks and your lights. And that's how I continue to paint now with the multiple colors and oil and acrylic is, my lights and my darks, where my shadows are, and where the light's reflecting off of the figures.
Nice, nice. I'm big into color too. I love me some color. I'm like, ooh, throw some pink in there, throw some
Yeah.
yellow in there. It's awesome. When did you start? So you would say that that was your first time kind of experiment or experiencing color. I feel like every artist kind of has their different kind of relationship starting with color. I know
Right.
when I was in school, kind of I would stay away from really bright colors or really, really dark colors. I kind of stayed in the middle, like greens and reds. And then one of my professors, one of my teachers in high school, she was like, try a blue or try a bright pink or a yellow. And I was just like, "Ah." But then I kind of like fell in love with it. So like, what was your experience? What was your journey into the color spectrum? How did that go? if that
Okay,
makes
so
any sense.
again, it was I had this watercolor class, and I think I chose the primary colors blue, blue, red, and yellow, because they
Hmm.
pretty much make everything. And just watching those colors mix together and make other colors, and I really like the way that it turned out. I mean, I like the results that I was getting from using the multiple colors. You know, at least those three colors. And then when I started um, painting in this style using the multiple colors, I said, well, I'm gonna use every color in my palette, you know, and see what happens. And
Oh,
you know, still
Daredevil.
trying, yeah, still trying to stick to, you know where my light colors and my mid-tone colors are, my dark colors. And actually, I don't use I rarely ever use black in my when I'm painting. Purple was my black, pretty much.
Mm.
Yeah, or you know, real dark blue, but generally purple was my black that I use.
Nice. What about texture? I've seen a lot of your work, and there's often this kind of texture to it. I guess the way that you lay the paint on the canvas, and it's kind of, I personally am a lover of textured pieces, especially the way that, you know, with oil, it just looks so good and so
Right,
fresh. And that's
right.
something that I'm not experienced in, and I just like not envy, but I like admire everybody who can create
Yeah.
these textures. So what about texture? Like how did your relationship with texture begin? For
So
anybody who ever wants to work in texture too.
okay, so I was using when I first was starting out with the texture, I was using oil paints, and before
Mhm.
prior to that, I would you know use put some linseed oil in it and smooth it out and blend everything, make sure everything was smooth. But I didn't use any linseed oil. I just I first I started off with a flat brush, and I would just pick up some paint and just put down a stroke, and I like the texture that it left, because oil paint is pretty thick, and I wasn't trying to thin it out or nothing. I like I do like texture, and then recently I've been actually using some molding. I was trying to see if I had. I'm in my studio now actually.
Nice.
And I use this molding paste for acrylics. Whenever I
Oh,
paint with acrylics, a lot of times I'll mix this. I'll either mix this with my paint, or I actually last week I tried something else. I just put the molding paste down first. I sketched my image out and put the molding paste down first, and I'm using paint. I'm still trying to see how that's going to turn out. I've started, but I'm still working on that some more.
nice.
But
So you're
I
still
love texture though.
experimenting. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
still
yeah, I love
experimenting
texture.
with texture
You
and things.
right. You have to continue to grow as an artist. I mean, I hope to try some new things as I continue. But I do. I mean, I like it's almost like taking a two dimension image and making a three dimensional.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
love the 3D. You know, I work in
yeah.
3D. So
Right. Right.
what other things are you experimenting with right now? Are you just doing the
Okay. Just
layover?
yeah, and just different colors. Also, with the past couple years, I've been using like solid backgrounds for my pieces.
Okay.
Because at first I would just I would use a white canvas and just try to fill a canvas up with just strokes of paint all over. But lately I've been putting down a solid color and seeing how that makes other colors pop.
Mm.
Like I've used rust. That was like well, I use black. I like using the black gesso, and I also use I've used rust. I use cobalt blue. This piece behind me is like a purplish piece, and I've just been experimenting with different colors. I've used a magenta color background, and it's I just like the different effects that certain backgrounds has on the colors that you're actually painting with.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Okay, do you want to talk about kind of a few of the places that you've showed? Because there is a long list of places. I mean, you've been everywhere. I mean, you're a DMV artist, but like you're like a USA artist, really.
Yeah.
So, do you want to
So
talk about that? I saw you had like you went to New Orleans, I believe.
yeah, yeah,
I see Miami, New York, which
right.
is huge. So, do you want to talk about kind of like moving around as an artist and
Yeah.
showing
So
all over?
when I started, I was trying to see how I was going to show my work, and it was very difficult getting in galleries and stuff. So I had to go to like outdoor markets, and first I would do outdoor markets in the DC area, and then I moved. I joined this there's a site called Zap or Zapplications, and they post different shows around the country, and I started applying for them. You had to jury into these shows, and I got accepted. So I've been to a lot of places on the East Coast, pretty much. The furthest I've been to Chicago, New Orleans, Atlanta. I used to go to Atlanta a lot. I had family in Atlanta, so I would try to go down there like twice a year for different shows. I would schedule shows so I can go down there. And I've been there was a nice show in New York at the Lincoln, out at the Lincoln Center. I would go there a few times, like once a year. I would go to the Lincoln Center, and then there were I did get some gallery shows in Georgia, and I had a show in New York in Harlem one time at a coffee shop in Harlem. I've been to Rome. I was in a group show in Rome. With a group, Art Impact International. They had a group show that was in 2016. That was a great experience.
How is that being international for all of us that have not traveled out of the country or haven't shown our work? How is it taking your African American experience to the other side and kind of like showing them who you are and who we are? How is that?
Well, first of all, I think in Europe, I think they really appreciate our work, African American art. Because even when I was showing in the States, a lot of the people that would stop by to see or buy my work would be Europeans.
Okay.
But it was a great experience. One thing, we had to figure out how we were going to get our work there, so I had to get an account with a shipping company. And I had to ship it to this. It was at the U.S. Embassy in Rome, so I had to ship it there. And then after it was over, we had to ship it back. But yes, I want to do some more. I want to see the world, and I'm hoping that my artwork takes me there. So there's a lot of places I haven't been. I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Japan, Paris. A lot of places I want to go. Australia.
Australia.
Yeah, Sid. I'm sure they got a cool art scene. I know they got a cool art scene there, but I'm finding on Instagram, since I joined Instagram, I'm finding there's some outstanding artists from Nigeria. So I really want to go there. I want to go to Zimbabwe to see the sculptor, to visit some of the sculptors in Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. There's just so much of the world I want to see, and I hope my art will take me there.
Awesome. Yeah, we've seen in history that art is like everywhere, and I find it interesting how each separate region of the world kind of expresses their art in a similar way, but is also very different. That's cool. So another question is, what era/period in art resonates with you the most and why? Okay. If you could pinpoint it.
Okay. Well, there's probably a couple. One is since I realize I'm an Impressionist painter, I have to recognize the French Impressionist era, like
of course,
1800s. And I don't know, and I need to learn more about that. But they kind of created the style that I'm doing. So I appreciate them and recognize them. But also, like in the late 60s and 70s, there was a black art movement called Afro-Cobra. It started in Chicago. And it stands for African Commune for Commune for current and relevant artists, or something like that.
Okay.
But it was a group of African American artists. I think one was a professor at Howard. I think his name was Donaldson. And because when I started painting, I didn't know anything about it, to be honest with you. So I was showing somewhere, and somebody said, well, your work reminds me of the Afro-Cobra movement. And they said, if you don't know about it, look it up. So that's what I did. And there's an artist named I forget his first name. His last name is Mr. Stevenson. I met him in Miami a couple years ago. They had an Afro Cobra show in Miami, and I went to the show and I met him. And but I see how my work kind of resembles his somewhat. And but it was you know, it was during the kind of revolutionary area in this country where the artists were reflecting the times, and they were reflecting the sentiment of our communities, and they were representing our communities in their artwork. And there's some beautiful pieces that came out of that movement. And I feel like we're kind of going through that same period now, and hopefully maybe, you know, there's several movements going on now, and DMV League of Artists might even be one of them.
Hopefully,
Yes.
I'm hoping. Awesome. Okay, so what are some of your like favorite artists? I know you mentioned a few, you named off a few artists, but what are some other artists that have really like kind of changed your life artistically and just as a person? If you'd like
Well,
to elaborate on that.
okay, there's a few contemporaries that I would have to mention, and I try not to mention too many because I don't want to leave nobody out and make anybody mad. But like it's a local artist, Jay Coleman. Y'all probably heard of Jay Coleman. He's local,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I remember before I started, I would used to go hang out on U Street all the time, and he used to display his stuff at Cafe Nima. This place, this was a nice little spot on U Street. And I just used to look at his work, and I was like, you know, and we actually had a class together at the Corcoran, a couple classes. But I liked his work. I like Alberts. I love his work. I love some of our members' work, like Luis. I love his work. Luis DeValle, Levi Robinson. I love, you know, there's a lot of artists I like. Bisa Butler. I think Sonya mentioned that on her
Mm-hmm.
on her interview. But yeah, I met her in Miami a couple years ago, and then and she was very gracious when I met her. And her work is beautiful and it's huge. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford a piece because I collect art too.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'll be able to get one of her pieces. I'm looking for a smaller piece. Most of her pieces are huge, but she does some beautiful work. I mean, it seems like she does a very similar thing with material that I do with paint, because her pieces are very colorful also.
Mm-hmm.
And let me stop before I get in trouble. I mean, as far as naming folks, but I mean, I do. And there's some Romir Bearden. I like his use of colors also. He's one of, the older,
Mm-hmm.
our previous artists. Yes.
Just know Jay loves you all. If you forgot to mention
Yeah.
your name, he still loves you. It's all love, all love.
Right. It is. I mean, and then just on Instagram, there's a lot of artists from Nigeria that I really love. I don't want to mess up their names, so.
Respectfully.
Right. So.
Do you want to talk a bit more about like art collection? I know that I don't know much about art collecting, but I've always thought that was such an interesting kind of like field to go in, like aside from the business side and the artist side, and there's the art collectors and buyers. So do you want to talk about like how you got into that? Why is that important? And like ways to become an art collector, I'm sorry.
Well, I think one, as an artist, if I don't know, I kind of think if you want people to buy your work, then you have to be willing to buy other people's work too. I mean, not just so they'll buy yours, but I mean, if you see something, I mean, I don't want to just. I mean, I like what I do, but I like other people's work too. And I'm a art lover. I'm an artist, and I'm an art lover. And also, it's I mean, you shouldn't collect for this reason alone, but art appreciates. I mean, you don't know if the piece you bought is going to appreciate or not. So you should buy pieces that you like and that will to make you feel good in your home or wherever you hang it. But you should try to also, but you should make sure you try to buy original art in case, that artist does blow up, then your art will blow up also. But I mainly just I buy stuff that I like. I do have, I remember before I really started painting, but I bought a Woodrow Nash years ago.
Ooh.
Woodrow Nash, mostly under Woodrow Nash is. He's a sculptor. He does these figurine pieces. But I bought a vase from him, like when I used to go to the Capitol Jazz Festival. And I used to always hang out at the artist market, wondering why I shouldn't be there also. And go talk. I used to talk to Pancho, and go talk to him and different artists and ask them how what it took for them to get out there, just to get ready. And but I love collecting art though. I wish I had more walls and I move things around a lot too, and I got to get rid of some of my work. I want to sell some more work so I can make room for some new art.
So you guys go to the website and buy some work from Jay.
Yes.
All right, let me get back into these notes and see what I've got going on here. Okay, so I have a question here, and you kind of briefly talked about it, but maybe you can go in a bit more detail. It's what are some things or isms, because you often mention isms hindering people. What are some things or isms that hinder artists from being great or better artists?
Well, I think the biggest ism is self-criticism. I mean, we're our worst critics, and you should be critical of your work, but don't be critical to a fault. That prevents you from moving forward. There's so much art. I mean, there's so many collectors out here, and there's art appeals to so many people. There's so many people out here that you don't know who's going to love your work. So don't be so hard on yourself. You got to show your work. I mean, if you finish it, you think it's finished, show it. I mean, don't put it in a closet, And that's another thing. We got to get out of our way, and not be too worried about what other people are going to think about our work. Just show it, and I guarantee somebody is going to love it.
Have you ever had that kind of doubtful feeling yourself, or did you kind of know always like, I got this. This is great.
No. I think every piece I've done, I could find something wrong with it, and I'm like, that might not be good enough. But a lot of times it's just between me and the painting. Nobody else really realizes it. So, I mean, and that's something you could. I mean, it's nothing wrong with working towards perfection, but until you get there, just continue to show your work, and if you like it somewhat, and somebody else is gonna love it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I found myself, some of the work that I kind of was like, it's okay. People are like, this is awesome. I'm like, really? Like, you like this? Okay.
Yeah, but there's so many people out here with different tastes, so you never know. So you have to show your work, have to show it, and there'll be somebody who likes it and loves it.
Awesome. So I was looking into your work, and I'm kind of like not a history buff, but I definitely am into like different periods of art. And I've noticed that some of your work kind of gives me this surreal kind of feeling to it. I know that you're an impressionist, but do you ever kind of like find yourself kind of tiptoeing in the surrealism pond based off of like colors and the absence of skin tone, and kind of having this fantasy kind of idea with the colors? And
well, I guess my ideas of surrealism are closer to Salvador Dali. So
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't call it surrealism, but I guess you could say I'm just using. I mean, there are no purple people or multicolored people. So in that sense, yeah, it's surreal in that sense because there are no multicolored people. So I guess in that sense, it would be surrealism.
Okay,
Yeah.
what about pointillism? Pointillism, I'm not saying that you do exact point, but having that kind of stroke and that kind of like pattern with the colors.
Well, pointillism to me is a form of impressionism, and
Okay.
I think what I do is a version of pointillism. I don't use the little dots, but I use like a colorful stroke, and pointillism is the colorful dots really to create an image. And but I just use a larger stroke, and So so I always tell people it is a form of pointillism, and pointillism is a form of impressionism.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. What would you say to young artists that are kind of they kind of aren't in the art world, they're just kind of creating for art's sake, and they want to get out there, they don't know what to do, they don't know how to move forward. Like, what advice would you give to the youth? Because I see that you work with youth a lot, and you find that it's very important to help younger people. So I was just wondering, what kind of advice do you have for those people there?
Well, at one point, I would say you have to show your work, like get into some type of market or a gallery or wherever you can show it, like in a restaurant or something like that. But now
Mm-hmm.
you have Instagram, so there's no excuse. You create your Instagram page and post your images on Instagram, especially in this day and time where nobody is really having a whole lot of shows. Everything is pretty much virtual. So you need to take advantage of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media. You need to take advantage of social media, and also set up an account, start to sell on social media. But that's the first place to start. If you're insecure about it, just start showing your stuff on Instagram and watch the remarks and the replies that you get, and that should encourage you.
Okay, what about those? And I know we're not open yet and we don't know when that'll happen, but what about those who kind of like they're on Instagram and they kind of like, okay, I want to take this into the gallery setting and I want to travel abroad like Jay did, and I want to have all these shows all around and make it to Basel. And what would you say to those artists that are what kind of tips do you have? Should they study more? Should they hang around more artists? Should they just kind of just work their fingers to the bone until they create something that's a masterpiece? Or like, what would you say to those?
Well, first of all, just start somewhere. If it's on Instagram or wherever, you got to start to get exposure, and somebody may see you on Instagram. Also, you have to. It is kind of difficult to get in galleries. I haven't been in a whole lot of galleries myself, but join art organizations with other artists, and they might have opportunities for you to show your work with them. Sometimes we got to create our own venues. A lot of people trying to block out African American artists. A lot of galleries, like some of the big galleries, they have very few African American artists.
Mm-hmm.
So we as a community have to create our own venues and our own opportunities. But I would say get involved with the organization that's doing something like that. And there's libraries, there's restaurants that a lot of times restaurants, they don't have any decorations, so they'll let you put your art in there. Like Busboys and Poets is a great place to go. They're generally, about Busboys and Poets,
I work
but
there.
right. But that's a great venue, and to show your work because they have a lot of people in there. But just try to show your work, and also work on your craft. Always try to improve on your craft. If you have some issues that you're dealing with in your craft, just try to improve on. Take classes if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
classes are always good, here and there.
Yeah, it's always good to keep educating yourself.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, and since you mentioned collective, of course, we are a part of the DMV League. So, what would you like to say about the league? Like, do you have anything that you want to say, or let us know some cute tips or some things, let the people know about us?
Yeah, I mean, we are growing. We're about to do some big things. Uh, it's important to be surrounded by other artists because being an artist can be a lonely craft because a lot of times you're in your studio by yourself, painting by yourself. Sometimes it's good to get feedback from other artists. If you need some help with something, and we do need a lot of help because sometimes we're just worrying about the creative side of it, and there's a business side of it too that some other artists that you might be associate yourself with. They've been there before and they've done that, and they can help you out with that. And just some, you know, you can get tips from other artists about different paints to use, like for murals and different finishes. It's just so it's invaluable to be around a group of like-minded people.
Yes, I will admit to that because
Yes.
I just love, love y'all. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. There's so many creative people in one
Right.
space.
Right.
Ah.
And you know,
So,
we're trying to go more places. It's easier to sometimes it's easier to get someplace if you got a group of people with you, or you know, different. You have more resources available to you because people know different people, so it's always helpful.
awesome. So, let's get into these questions we've got going on. We got a few questions down here, so let me just
Okay.
pull them up. Okay, we have one from Kiana Clark Art. Shout out to Kiana. The question is, can you share with us your experience with your larger commissions like the Jim Vance mural and the Meridian apartment project? Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right. So in 20 okay 2019, I had a big project at the it's called Ames at Meridian Hill, which is actually a former Howard University dormitory of Meridian Hill. It was it's been leased to a independent businessman, Jair Lynch. Is the owner? Well, he's leasing it from Howard University for 99 years, I believe. So he renovated the building and made it luxury apartments. And somehow, I used to participate in this art show called what was called Art of Interpretation. It was the Howard alumni art show. Excuse me. And they were looking, I guess they were looking for a Howard alumni to do these paintings since it was a former Howard University dorm. So somehow they found my name, and I put in a bid on the project, and I got the project. And it was 8 huge pieces. Each piece was about 5 feet tall, and some of them were like 9 feet wide. I think 9 feet might have been the widest one, but there were 8 of them, and I had to paint 8 of these paintings, and they're in the grand foyer of the apartment building. So it's a nice space, and they turned out really well, and it was an opportunity for me. And then shortly after that, I got a call from another classmate from Howard, Dr. Cherie Ward. She runs the Jim Vance Media Center at Archbishop Carroll High School, and she was getting this new media center built, and she wanted a portrait of Jim Vance at the welcoming center when you come into the media center. And she contacted me, and I was able to get that opportunity also. I just got another opportunity recently in North Brentwood. There's a place called Sis's Tavern, and Sis's Tavern is a historical landmark in North Brentwood. And if you all don't know about North Brentwood was one of the first African American towns in Prince George's County, and they have a long history. And part of that history is Sis's Tavern. Sis's Tavern was a local establishment that used to, I guess they had after hours, and after Duke Ellington and people like Pearl Bailey, after they performed at the Howard Theater, they would come down to Sis's Tavern to perform. And they're working out, they're building a pavilion, they're renovating Sis's Tavern, and then there's going to be an outdoor pavilion area, and there's going to be a fence around the pavilion, and I'll be doing the murals on that fence. And that project is scheduled to complete in the end of May.
Okay, coming soon to you guys.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm very excited about that. Very excited about that project.
I'm from Brentwood, so I'm like, shout out to us.
Okay.
All right, let's get into, I think we have 2 more questions. I'm going to check the comments too. We have from Tikoko Creo. That's Kamiko, our last host. Shout out to her. Hey, girl.
Hey, Kamiko.
She says, how did he come to do art exhibitions? I think you briefly talked about that, but if you wanted to.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit more. So again, I started locally doing art markets. There were I think the first one was like on Fifth Street and like around Fifth and K, around that area. There was a parking lot that this guy used to have shows in, and then there was a real nice one when National Harbor first opened. They would block off American Avenue on National Harbor, and we would set up our tents and our booth there, and it was just a real nice area. And then a lot of times you would get a lot of people traveling in and out of DC, and they're looking for artwork to take home. So it was an excellent location. And then somebody told me about this Zapplications that I mentioned earlier. And it's a site that lists different shows all around the country. And then you just apply for the show. Most of them are jewelry. You have to pay a fee to apply. And then if you get in, they let you know on a certain date that you got. And that's how I did the New Orleans Jazz Festival. I went through Zapplications, and I used to do the show in New York at the Lincoln Center through Zapplications. And in Atlanta, there was a lot of shows in Atlanta I used to do also by applying for those shows. And some of the shows, once you got in one year, then it was almost a guarantee you get in the next year. But unfortunately, like the New Orleans Jazz Festival is not like that. One year I actually won the first year I was there, I won an award as the most unique artist at the New Orleans Jazz Festival. But the next year I couldn't get in. I applied and I didn't get in. So some of these shows are very selective to get in. Another one that's hard to get in, and it's one of my best shows, and it's in my hometown of Pittsburgh, is the Three River Art Festival. And it's hard. I mean, I've gotten in twice, but I've got rejected about 3 or 4 times. So,
hey, but what's a win without a few fails, right?
Right, and that's helped me realize in this business you have to have tough skin, because you're going to get rejected a lot. I mean, there's a lot but you can't let it stop you though. You can't let it discourage you. You got to keep on going, keep applying for these shows. And I'm also, I remember the first year I got in the Essence Festival, somebody had given me, I talked to another artist and they told me who to contact. And I contacted that person. That was past the deadline, but I called them and they said, well, all we have is this outdoor show. And I said, okay, I'll do that. And then she called me back a week later and said, well, the booth opened up if you want to get a booth on the inside. So I did that. I did the outside show, and I did this show in the convention center. And then since then, whenever I want to go back, I've done that 2 other times. The Essence Festival in the convention center. Because sometimes some of these promoters are very cool people, and once you meet them, they like you, they're going to let you in. And that was the same happened with the Capital Jazz Festival. Felicia Hatton, she used to run the show at the National Harbor. So after I did the National Harbor, then she said she does the Capital Jazz Festival. I was able to get in that every year. I wanted to get in that pretty much until she's no longer coordinating that. So the year that she stopped coordinating, I didn't get in that year. So, but like I said, you got to have tough skin. There's plenty of shows out here.
So y'all heard that as applications, and you better get that networking
Right.
in.
And there's a few others out there, but Applications is a good one to start with.
Okay, we have one more question, and then people want to know about your piece in the background, but I just want to let you know in that last minute we have a versus coming up, so get ready for that. This question I have is, what kind of things have you done over the years to grow your following? That's a pretty good question.
That's something I need to work on, to be honest with you, because I'm not, I guess I'm not as versed with Instagram as maybe some younger folks but I mean, I hear there's ways you can do that. You have to do that, and I'm not good. Like, I need to create more hashtags, and somebody told me recently to create a bunch of hashtags, save it, and then you just cut and paste it on your post. So that's something I need to do. And sometimes I feel like I'm working solo, so I gotta work on it. I know there's things I need to do to increase my following.
Yeah, and also you can do time lapses, which are really cool. Like, I noticed that's like a cool little trend. I enjoy watching people.
Yeah, I enjoy watching it too. Yeah.
So that's a thing too.
Yeah.
Let me see in the comments, see if we can squeeze in like maybe one. Oh, they want you to talk about the painting behind you.
Okay,
That's
so
from Louise. Oh, our last question, sorry, was from Eras to Arts, by the way. But Louise and Kamiko also asked if you can talk about that piece behind you for
okay, so
us.
this is a piece I'm working on. This is a piece in this is a painting of my grandmother and her brother when they were little.
Oh.
This is like this is probably around 1920 when this it was I'm using a image paint a photograph of them as a reference, but and they're kind of like it's a period piece. I like doing period piece. I'm starting to really like to do period pieces, like around turn of the century. So
I do like that.
yeah, this is something I'm working on. I mean, I have a little ways to go, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with the background yet either. So, but that's what that is. That's and I don't know what I'm gonna call it yet either.
Okay,
But
well,
I
shout
got
out to you, Grandma.
right. But I got a few pieces around here I'm still working on. Yeah.
Okay, and we have one more quick question. If we can sum this up in about 3 minutes so we can get the verses. But what story are you trying to tell the world with your voice and your art?
No, I want to. What I hear a lot when I'm showing my work is that when they walk into my booth and they see my pieces, it brings them joy, and that's what I want to. That's what I want to. I want to give people joy. There's people that do dark art, and people do different types of art. I want my art to give people joy when they hang pieces in their homes. I want the homes to be joyous because they have my art in their homes.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's get into this verses. So we didn't do this for the last episode, but well, for our last host, but I figured I'd throw this into the mix because there are a lot of things that we do that kind of we have to pick and choose. So you have 30 seconds to answer as many verses as you can. So let me go ahead and get this set up with the timeline. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. History versus music.
History.
Okay. Music versus dance.
Dance.
Okay, dance versus history.
Dance.
Okay. All right, this is for brushes. A flat brush versus palette knives.
Palette knife.
Okay, small canvas versus large canvas.
Large canvas.
Okay, black gesso versus colored gesso.
Black gesso.
Oh, it looks like our time is up. Okay, we have one more. Murals versus canvas.
I'll say a canvas.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for doing our first verses. Did you like it? Was that
Yeah,
cool?
that was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Jay, for coming on to Art Talk with us today.
Thank you, Nefertita. You were a great host.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see you all next week with another artist. You know, the same time, same place. I'll be with you this time, your girl Nefertiti Nakia, and let's all thank Jay again for coming on with us and sharing his story and his experience. You got any last words for the folks?
No, I'm just looking forward to the rest of 2021, so we can go out there and sell some art, show some art, sell some art, and I'm just excited about the future.
Okay, and I got to do this for everybody in the comments. That's from HU and my mom over here. So here you go. HU.
You know.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Jay, for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Nefertiti.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, you guys. Well, it was another successful. Oh, I think you just go to the top and press the X button.
I got it.
All right. Thank you all for coming out to check us out another time. It was awesome to have Jay Durrah on here. Make sure you all go ahead and follow him so you can get more content from him and buy some artwork, take his tips and advice. And if you didn't get to catch this in the beginning, make sure that you go to our page. We're going to be posting it, and check out our YouTube. So go to DMV League Art YouTube and you'll be able to watch it fully right there. It'll be there forever. And if you missed any episodes, you can catch up right there as well with Kamiko. So I'll see you all next week. It was a blessing. You all stay amazing, stay safe, and peace, love, and hair grease. See ya.